I don't want your millions, mister. I don't want your diamond ring. All I want, just the right to live, mister. Give me back my job again. I know you have the land deed, mister. The money is all in your name. But where's the work that you did, mister? I'm demanding back my job again. So I don't want your millions, mister. I don't want your diamond ring. All I want, just the right to live, mister.
Give me back my job again.
Think me dumb if you wish, mister. Call me green or blue or red.
The communists had an impact on the shape of their era. Many reforms we take for granted today were first brought to public attention by the Communist Party and the thousands of men and women who worked with them. They organized councils of the unemployed that effectively pushed for Social Security and unemployment insurance. The party fought against the racial segregation and discrimination that were the accepted practices of the day. Many racist landlords and businessmen faced their picket lines, boycotts, and sit-ins. In the South, communists protested lynchings and worked for voting rights for black citizens.
We're gonna roll, we're gonna roll, we're gonna roll the Union on, we're gonna roll.
Perhaps the communists' greatest impact was on the labor movement. In the 1930s, America's major industries were being organized for the first time, and communists played a key role. From auto to steel, from maritime to mining, they were among the most skillful and dedicated organizers. And in many of the new CIO unions, they rose to positions of leadership. But some things about the communists cut against the American grain and raised deep suspicions. Your movement was constantly accused of not really being concerned with American people's interests, but rather with promoting the Soviet Union. And we've seen demonstrations with communists carrying signs of Lenin, Stalin, defend the Soviet Union. So why would you do that?
I think it was because the Russian Revolution had an incredibly electric effect on all the left-wingers in this country in 1917 in a way that's very hard for anybody to understand now. But there had been a large socialist movement in this country, and but socialism was a dream. It had never happened.
Generations of communists had developed who believed that the Soviet Union was not only the expression of the first conquest, the first victory of the working class in showing that you could build a society without bosses, but that it was the example of all that was best and purest and most desirable.
In the 30s, everybody knew somebody that went to the Soviet Union to visit. The Soviet Union had a big tourist campaign, and there were thousands and thousands of people that went to the Soviet Union, mostly teachers. They could afford it. You hear about no racial discrimination. You hear about no unemployment. You hear about, a kind of egalitarian society that is just very unlike anything we have here, I mean, in the 30s, people were extremely conscious of the huge disparity between the poor and the rich, between poverty and its plenty. We were extremely loyal to the Soviet Union, but that didn't seem like any contradiction to us of being loyal Americans. I mean,
That didn't make you un-American?
It didn't make us feel in the slightest degree un-American. We felt that we were interested in the best. We were concerned about the best interests of the American people. To us, that meant the best interests of ordinary people. We considered ourselves very much small D Democrats. We really believed in the American dream.
You'd be listening to a conversation of 6 or 7 people chewing a rag, And you'd always hear somebody saying, but they done it in Russia. There's no unemployment in Russia. Everybody's working in Russia. If it could happen in Russia, why can't it happen here? And these were just simple Americans.
American communists were not only inspired by the Soviet Union, their party accepted leadership from it. The very structure of the party was modeled after the Soviet experiment. Lenin had said, a party of a new type was needed to overturn the capitalist class. It had to be somewhat like an army, with a clear chain of command. Once a decision was reached, no dissension was allowed. It was accepted by American communists that many decisions came from the top down and had to be carried out. And, like the Bolsheviks in the repressive days of the Tsar, many communists kept their membership secret.
Our neighbors, let's say the people we were closest to, did not know us to be party members. In many cases, our shopmates or people we worked with did not know us to be party members.
Suppose if your neighbor did know, do you think they would have rejected you?
I think the party view was that you don't have to go around announcing yourself as a party person. That's unnecessary. You just do your work.
You know, if you say, look, I'm a communist and go around wearing a button, you know, that you're a communist, or we say wear it on your sleeve, the workers aren't brought up to that point where they understand it. But if you tell them, don't be afraid of the word communism because you will be called a communist. If you argue with your grocer on the price of bread, he'll say, what are you, a communist? You don't like it here?
Well, but then later on when someone tells them you are a communist, and turns out they find out, then they think that, well, you lied to them.
No, it isn't that. They just respect me for what I am, you know?
But wouldn't they think that you were being dishonest?
How could they find out that I'm a communist?
Suppose someone comes along and tells them that you are.
So it's their word against mine. They never came to approach me and ask me.
In many ways, you do have a secret life. Certainly your work life, unless you happen to be working for a left organization, your work life on the whole, people do not know about your politics. We would be fired and we couldn't, make a living. But I think that something else that we felt was that people couldn't be effective politically if their politics were open. They couldn't get elected to union office. They couldn't, they couldn't, or not just union office, any kind of organizations they were working with, they wouldn't be trusted because there was so much anti-communist feeling in the country. And in my view, that was a great mistake in retrospect. But at the time, you simply felt it was necessary. And you were, in fact, upfront about your politics to as large a group of people as you felt safe to be so. I remember the Madison Square Garden meetings. There were 20,000 plus people in one room, all chanting the same slogan. Enormous spirit. It was things like this that kept you feeling you weren't totally alone, you were part of something big. And that made you feel worthwhile because you knew that your own minuscule efforts were not going to do any huge thing for the revolution, but combined with 20,000 other people, you felt that you really were going to make a difference in the world.
Events and issues are beginning to stand out so that they can be seen by the masses. You don't have to give long-winded explanations anymore. People see, that people understand. What they need is a voice to express it for them and an organization to rally them. And the people are going to march forward. With the people will belong the victory.
You got the feeling there's such a groundswell. Oh, Christ, in the next couple of years, in fact, I sheepishly, I feel embarrassed. An old Jewish guy asked me, he had so much confidence in me. He said, Bill, when do you think the revolution is going to come? And I said, the way I feel, I said, I'm sure it's going to come within 5 years. He said, thanks, I hope I shall live to see that day. I shall hold myself together.